camping in the rain, at least for this first night. So it was a hard day this morning getting up here because I woke up with an incredibly bad migraine. I'm actually feeling pretty okay right now. Maybe it's the woods that's helping. It's just drizzling right now. It's supposed to rain a little bit more hard tonight. For me, it doesn't matter at all because I will be in my car, but my son will be tent camping. They're driving up here separately. They should be here, I don't know, the next 20, 30 minutes, depending upon how everything goes for them. Yeah, and so I'm really excited to camp with my son. We haven't camped together in years, and definitely not with them as an adult. We're going to be sharing, making food, and each of us bought half the groceries, and each of us will cook half the meals. Well, they're going to make their own breakfast, and I'm going to make my own breakfast, but for lunches and dinners, which is really kind of nice. We'll see, though, how tonight's dinner goes, because it is raining. Right now, there's a nice tree right above me, so you could totally cook here, no problem. But it's going to rain harder and harder as the evening goes on, allegedly. So we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, this is a state park I've actually never been to. It's in Marin. I don't think I've ever camped in Marin, which is the county that is north of San Francisco on the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge. So yeah, weird. So we're going to camp for 2 nights. My son is really still figuring out their kind of camping setup because they haven't camped as adults yet. They have their own tent and sleeping bag and all that stuff because they had it from before. That I got them when we were still camping together when they were younger. And so now they're figuring out what gear they need to bring for themselves. We're just going to share a few things. There's a few things they're not bringing, but pretty much they're bringing their own stuff. I just went down to the restroom, and on all the stuff over the website for the state park and a little brochure, when the little paper they give you when I checked in, it said use quarters for showers. But when I get down there, it says tokens only. Where do you get these tokens? It is a mystery. I don't know. So we'll see about that. Also, see that little cabinet? That looks really cute and nice. It smells like pot, like reeks. I'm assuming it's pot and not that the inside of it smells like a skunk. I'm thinking that someone decided to store their pot in there. Why would you do that? I don't understand people. People are trashy sometimes, right? I don't know. Anyway, it is kind of a neat thing because they have a little thing to cook right here. And then they also have your campfire there. I'm not planning to use that. That looks like an incredibly inefficient way to cook, but I'll just have my Coleman stove. We're just going to cook on the Coleman stove, and we're making kind of normal meals, but that we would have made in a house or apartment because, well, burgers, but we're still making it on the Coleman stove. We're not making things on the fire, which is good because making a fire tonight may not happen. Also, they're out of firewood here, which is fine because I have firewood from the camping trip I did with my significant other. We never burned a load of firewood, so they gave it to me and I took it with me up here. It is sitting on a tarp on my bed. One of the things that's going to happen when my son gets here is there's going to be some stuff from my car that's going to go in their car because their car should have more room because they're not sleeping in it. But we shall see. I hope they get here soon, partially just because I hope they get here soon, but also because so we can set up their tent, or they can set up their tent when it's not raining that much, because setting it up in the actual rain would be an issue. I'm going to check though and see when it's supposed to stop raining. Oh, it's not supposed to stop raining until 11 p.m. So now one of the things is, it's still a 40%. And I actually never knew this. My son told me this. And then my significant other, I looked it up yesterday, that the percent is not the percentage chance. It's a combined mathematical formula where you have the likelihood of the confidence that the forecaster has with the percent of that area, the forecasted area that's going to rain on. And then they do a formula, and that's where that number is. So it's almost not useful. So 40% chance, I don't know if that's a low percent of rain everywhere or a higher percent of rain that's hardly going to be anywhere. I don't know. They should give you the 2 percentages and not just this weird formula result. I don't like it. I wonder if there's somewhere where you can actually see the real things. So in other news, I have service here, and I just checked. I have a message from my doctor, and they sent me a FIT kit, I think it's called. You don't have to do a colonoscopy. Instead, you have to do a kit that you have to collect a sample yourself. And I hated doing this last year. I mean, it's much better than a colonoscopy, but it was one thing to do it in your own bathroom at home. And now making a sample while on the road. That's interesting. Where am I going to do this? I don't know. So that's something to think about. So one more fun thing to do. Maybe I'll make a video about it, but not showing anything because that's disgusting, but talking about, hey, how do you do any sort of sampling that you need to send into the doctor when you don't have your own restroom? You can see that we set up my son's tent. We wanted to do it while it was just drizzling and before it starts raining. If it does, it might not, you know, who knows. But we got that all set up and their bedding and stuff and clothes are inside. So if and when they're ready to go, well, not if, whenever they're ready to go to bed, they can just duck right in there and go to bed. That way they're ready to go. That's one thing though for me is, for me to go to bed, I just have to go to bed like I normally do. Yay! It's actually really nice. However, there's firewood on my bed. So, but the next thing after my son gets back with the figuring out the tokens for the shower, the next thing is going to be, I need to get the firewood from my car and put it in my back of my son's car. So that way it's out of the way. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. My car is very disorganized right now, but that's actually normally when I get to a campsite, one of the first things I do is organize my car. Because typically I've gone shopping, I bought a bunch of stuff that I didn't put away and I need to like get out all my containers and reorganize. I'm not doing that in the rain though. Not doing it in the rain. So I will do that probably tomorrow morning sometime. Reorganize the stuff in my car. I'm actually feeling really good. I feel like being in the woods was very good for my physical health. It's interesting. I mean, living in a car, I'm effectively outside all the time. But this is one thing about being outside in town and another thing about being outside in a forest, right? Very, very different. So this is really nice. Not sure what we're going to have for dinner tonight. If my son's going to cook or I'm going to cook. If I'm going to cook, I'm making stir fry with rice, and so I'll need to stir the rice with the rice cooker, which I totally can do. I will actually, I brought my electric rice cooker, so, but that takes 45 minutes, so I'd have to plan that ahead and get that started. I'll just have it sitting on the seat of my driver's seat. One thing, since I'm all wet, that's actually one thing that I haven't had to deal with camping in the rain, is I have all this wet gear. And so obviously I'm not going to just get into my bed with the wet gear. I'm going to need to get into the driver's seat with the wet gear and then take the wet gear off so it doesn't get on my bed. But then where does it go? I don't know. I don't really, because I can't just leave it in my driver's seat because other stuff has to go in my driver's seat. Okay, so one thing that I'm learning about camping in the rain. So I very much enjoy being in the rain. I enjoy listening to the rain. Being in a campsite, I have a waterproof jacket, waterproof pants that I got from an REI probably 20 years ago. I've had them so long. They are great. I absolutely love them. Have my new rain boots. Those are being great. However, so I'm in the car right now. My son is in their tent right now. It's only 5 p.m. And it's just because this is the worst of the rain. So we're kind of both camping out in our own places, using it as time to set up the beds and all that kind of stuff. I don't really need to set up my bed that much. It's a big mess back there right now. But that is not going to really be dealt with until tomorrow. What I'll do is I'll just throw everything in the back and on the other side and all that stuff. And then tomorrow I'll clean everything up. However, one thing that I have not kind of figured out yet is my rain gear. So I got in the car and I'm in wet stuff. And I'm like, what do I do with this wet stuff? Now, what I did right now is my jacket is just hanging up and I'm still just wearing my rain pants. My rain pants are actually really aren't that wet. Oh, it's not pouring. It's just solid rain outside, but it's not pouring. And then my boots are down there. Now I do have my new mats that are hard mats, so they're easy to clean up. So that'll be no problem. And I have a plastic bag that I could put the boots in if I want to not have them just sitting there. But I think they can just sit there. I think that'll be fine. It is going to be a thing for me to get out of these pants and get out of the boots before I get in my bed and then to get back in them. So like usually when I'm camping, what I do is when I go to bed the first night of camping and I put all my stuff here in the driver's seat, then I get out that back door and in and out that back door. And I take my shoes and I sometimes I leave them outside if it's hot and I'm not worried about them getting wet or whatever. Or there's, bugs get in there and scorpions. I don't know. So as a lot of times I actually put them kind of behind my head, like on that little shelf that's in the back, behind where the back seat would have been. And that's totally fine for like my tennis shoes. My boots won't fit there. So they'll be up here with all this stuff. So I think in the morning I will have to, I'll have to kind of do what I normally do in town, where I move all the stuff to get up here and then, put my shoes on, which is totally fine. It's just not quite as camping for me. Now, one of the things that I'm doing this camping trip is my son and I are tag teaming for food. So they're cooking one lunch and one dinner, and I'm cooking one lunch and one dinner. And so for my lunch and dinner, I'm actually making food that I used to make back when my son lived with me. So one of them is going to be a chicken stir fry with veggies and rice, actually using my rice cooker, not just instant rice. And then the other is going to be making chicken tacos. And these are all using actual raw chicken instead of me using like packets and all these things. Shelf-stable stuff is great and is very convenient. But, there is something to cooking stuff from scratch, right? This will be good to see how that goes. I mean, obviously I've cooked from scratch while camping in my life. It's not like I've never done that before or on road trips, but I haven't done it since I've been living in my car. Like, I don't think I've bought raw chicken and put it in that cooler, So, that will be a good test to see how that goes. Kind of funny standing here next to a tree in the rain, but I'm under a tree, so it's barely raining right here. We're about ready to make our food.
I'm putting trash into this world. Like, this is the place that will be empty because the trash will fill it up, and I won't be able to camp here anymore.
Here's the toppings for our burgers. It's kind of weird listening to the water hit the thing, Yeah. I keep being like, what is that? And it's like, oh, that's okay. Yes, my stove is incredibly dirty. It's kind of gross. But it doesn't really matter. Your food doesn't touch it. Well, at least I'll clean it up. This actually smells so good. Good morning. So I've been actually up for hours. Something woke me up at like the middle of the night, like 3 something. It's really loud beep, which I think was like a car alarm beep unlocking or whatever. And my brain could not figure out what it was. And so I was just like laying there and I was like, where am I? What's happening? Because all the noises sounded different. Actually, it's incredibly quiet. So it's the lack of noise, which spooks me sometimes. I have a crick in my neck. It's not from sleeping in my car. I used to get those when I was sleeping in a house in a regular bed. Sometimes I just sleep wrong. I don't know. I'll tell you. So anyway, I haven't gotten out of bed yet. I've just been playing SimCity, the old SimCity, which I enjoy the best of all the SimCities. And I had some crackers and drank some water. It's 6:40 a.m. Sunrise is not till 7:30 or 7:26 or something like that. But I'm sure it's probably slightly the sun is coming up. But we're in the redwoods, so it's not going to be bright. It's not like when I was in the desert where getting up before sunrise, there'd be a lot of light. It is dark out there. My son said to wake them up at sunrise or about sunrise if they're not up already. So since it's 6:40, it'll take me a while to give myself once over and get dressed. And I'm going to save my game, put my computer away. And then I actually already found my headlamp, which is very good because my other headlamp died. My headlamps actually weirdly all take batteries and don't have any rechargeable ones. I really thought I did have one, but apparently I don't. So I actually need to get some more batteries. And I think I'm going to get a rechargeable thingy bob that goes in this one so I can recharge it. Because my lantern, this is rechargeable. Oh, and I actually like that better. I also have a solar one, but I'm not worrying about that one because I'm in the woods. Not going to be very much solar power that will be generated here. So today I'm thinking that we'll go on a hike and cook food and yeah, and hang out, make a campfire tonight because it's not supposed to be raining anymore. I think it'll be a nice day. I will say it is really nice camping. Like, it's nice camping with my son on many levels, partially so we can spend time together and all that stuff, but also because, you know, my son's kind of perspective on, I don't know, harsh things is a very positive, like, wow, this challenge, we're going to like figure this out and stuff. So it's nice. Like, I don't have to be the positive one. I can just, and not that I have to force myself to be a positive one with other people, but I don't know. It's nice to like be with someone who we're somewhat similar in that way. So when we were cooking last night, it was okay. You know what I mean? The fact that it was completely ridiculous cooking in the rain, but we got it and had our half-pound burgers and that my son made with garlic and onions, and it was very good. It was very good. And also, I was hungry, and I actually couldn't finish the half pound. I ate 90% of it. Chris couldn't do that last bit. That's a lot of meat for me.
And also at B.
So my son had me climb just randomly up all the used trails on this hill. My son's still up there, but I am coming down after they helped me down because that was a bit much. I will say these boots really did help me hike up there. They're very, very stable in this super squishy, wet, muddy redwood forest ground.
This is also a project for me.
I'm taking video of you right now, by the way. So it is second night and it's not raining now, which is so great. You know, everything is slightly damp. Like this drips from the trees still, super muddy. I'm very thankful for my boots. And like everything is slightly damp. Paper towels, toilet paper. It's not wet. It's just not dry. So tonight I'm going to use my rice cooker to make rice, and I'm going to make a nice little stir fry. So for dinner, which I know it doesn't sound camping exact, but that's kind of what we both want. I had tacos for lunch. Tacos were great. I've been cooking with raw chicken. I haven't cooked with raw chicken since I lived in a car, and it actually wasn't a big deal. So that was a good thing to see. A good thing to be trying out, that I actually can use raw chicken and it's not really that big of a deal. Yeah, so I look incredibly puffy in my puffy coat. So it is the second night on this camping trip with my son. My son right now is going to take a shower, and so Godspeed to them that it will have hot water and it will actually not be a bad experience. I'm going to take a shower here. I'm not even bothering with it. I give myself a once over this morning and with wet wipes, and that was good enough. Which will also be all I do tomorrow morning. I'll go to Planet Fitness sometime after I leave here. Maybe even the closer one, or I might go to the one that I usually go to. We'll see what I feel like, what time of day it is, how I feel, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, it is interesting. Last night it was raining. And so the only people at the campground was we were here and then some people in camper vans and stuff like that. And they were inside. You never saw them. Tonight it is, I won't say busy here, but I would say it's about more than half full, probably 2/3 full, which is pretty good for a Wednesday night in the winter, and there's a lot of people who are socializing at campfires. So it's much more of a kind of regular campground experience, especially at a state park in California, where state parks in California, there'll be some people with RVs and camper vans and stuff, but there's a lot of people with tents, even in the winter. Versus when I was in Arizona a couple weeks ago, it was mostly RVs. Now, they actually had it separate. There were places that were tent sites, and then there were RV sites, and the RV sites had hookups. In California, it's very unusual for a state park to have any hookups at all. It's not a bad thing to have the campground have people in it and people talking and stuff. It's just different than it was last night. We were able to make a campfire, which was so great, and we were able to enjoy that and kind of sit around and talk around the campfire and do that kind of thing. So that was a really nice thing to have. Now it is 8:37. So I'm in the car because it's actually kind of too chilly for me to be out there. The fire's not 100% out. I will make sure it's 100% out before we go to bed, but it's 99% out. So I'm not sitting there in the dark. There's so many, I keep calling them trash pandas in my head, so many raccoons here, and the garbage cans, the dumpsters are not secured from raccoons. The raccoons are hanging out in the garbage. And I actually didn't realize that raccoons climb trees. I don't know why it didn't occur to me that they do, but you go over to the garbage to dump your stuff in it in the evening, and they literally hop out of the dumpsters and then scramble up trees. Oh my goodness. I'm really surprised that they have dumpsters and trash cans that are not secure against the raccoons. That is so weird to me that they're not doing anything about that. I don't know. Very, very strange. But anyway, it's been a lovely camping trip with my son. Great to spend this time together, and very, very relaxing camp trip. It was great to eat really good food. Today's food cooked by me, yesterday's food by my son, and tomorrow's will be cooked by my son. So very nice to share that responsibility, and very relaxing trip where we haven't moved our cars. You know what I mean? I used the rice cooker today, which I hadn't used in a while, and I use my little battery, my CPAP battery, which I normally wouldn't do for cooking. I did it just so that way I wouldn't have to come all the way back to the car to cook the food, because I didn't want to get my big battery out and, haul it around and extract it from where it usually is. It used about 30% of that battery. So that's a good thing to know. My CPAP uses about 20% of the battery a night, a little less than that. So anyway, that was a good thing to note for the future if I decide to use the rice cooker. I also took an inventory of everything in my pantry, all my shelf-stable food, and actually literally wrote it on a list. And I'll talk about that in the future, but I think I'm going to maybe on my next trip do a challenge for myself where I eat out my pantry, because I have so much food in there. And then maybe I'll just buy vegetables. You know what I mean? I'll buy vegetables, maybe breakfast, maybe eggs or something. But I'll then, besides that, I just eat everything in my pantry. Maybe I don't have any breakfast food in there. Obviously you can eat any kind of food for breakfast, but I kind of would want to eat breakfast food for breakfast. We have so much in there for hot food. Yeah, and it was, I also cooked in the dark, which I haven't really been doing since I lived in my car. And as I talked about, I think earlier, I cooked with raw chicken. What I did is I cut all the chicken up into bite-sized pieces. And then we had some of that for tacos for lunch and some of that for stir fry for dinner. And that was really the way to do it. Have one time when you process all the raw meat. So then you only have to wash raw meat, stuff once. And then when I cooked it today for dinner, I just dumped it straight from the Ziploc bag it was in, like upside down. I didn't have to touch anything, so I didn't have to worry about sanitizing stuff. And I just threw the Ziploc away. So that worked out really well and made it really easy. So yeah, I may actually buy raw chicken in the future. And obviously, you can always just go in and buy enough for one meal. I could go and buy one chicken thigh or something, but it's more cost effective to buy larger quantities. All right, let's see what you can see from inside of my car. Well, you can definitely see in there. So I went to the bathroom one more time, and while I was doing that, I checked to see what I could actually see through my window coverings. Now, up here in the front, there's a little V. So you definitely can see through there. Sometimes I do slide over. I have these things that can slide over and cover up that, but it's not perfect. But one thing about these are the WeatherTech ones. And there's two things I don't like about them. One is that this black side is shiny. Usually I have the black side out, but I'm in a campground. I don't care about being stealth. And I put them up and then didn't switch them because I was like, whatever, it's wrong. I don't care. The other thing is they actually, even though they're supposed to be laser cut, they're actually not perfect. They're really not. There are places around the edges. So if I wanted something that would be truly perfect, I actually think what I would do in the future is, in a way, have two layers, like having this be on there, except having it be a matte finish instead of the shiny black, which I could fix this. I could put something on it that would be a matte finish. But I'm not going to bother doing that in the Honda Civic. I'll do that in my next vehicle. But having some other layer here, curtainy kind of thing, that would have two layers, then it would be stealth. I could put a light on in here. And that's what I'm thinking I'll do when I have the theoretical Subaru Outback or whatever I end up getting, is I'll have also a layer of curtains. The idea of that is partly for stealth, so I can have a light on so I could cook or do whatever inside in the evenings in the winter. But the other aspect is so I could be warmer. My idea, and I've actually seen people do this, is effectively if you're creating like an old-fashioned bed with like the bed curtains, back in old-fashioned times where people had curtains around their bed to keep themselves warm at night because they had no central heat. It was olden times. So the idea is having curtains around my bed area so I would have a smaller space for my body heat to warm. The thing is, I don't think that's super important in the Honda Civic because it's already a tiny space. But anything bigger than this, excluding the cab, excluding the passenger seat and the driver's seat, I might not take the passenger seat out of a Subaru Outback or whatever, because I might have enough room to sleep in the back without doing that. And then I'll have another seat, which might be helpful for many different reasons, being more stealth, being able to travel with another person, giving someone a ride, whatever, picking someone up from the hospital, things that sometimes need to happen. And also because then it kind of creates a different space between the front and the back. There would be something nice about that. But then having a curtain here, that would separate out that space, right? So the front doesn't need to actually even have coverings or, it would be a separate space. I would just have the normal kind of window covering that you have on your main, front window. And then have the back having curtains around me. So I'm all surrounded by fabric. One thing that actually has surprised me this winter is I thought the coldest part of the car would be the windows. It's not. It's these posts in between the windows. That's the thing that my body touches and is cold because my body doesn't touch the windows. I'm lower than that, right? And I'm not saying there's no air, heat exchange there, but my body touches the door and the post thing. The post thing tends to be the coldest. And I just put stuff there. I just put a blanket or whatever there so it doesn't touch me. But that actually is the thing that feels physically cold, which has been interesting. It makes sense because there's not really true insulation in the doors of the car very much. It's sound insulation much more than any kind of temperature insulation, which is, I mean, it was a little bit, but it's actually unfortunate. It would make the car more efficient for the air conditioning and the heat, but it would add weight. So, I mean, whatever. I'm not in charge of all the designs of all cars. So anyway, I just want to check that out. It does leave a little bit of light around the edges, and then the back isn't actually put up all the way. So it's a lot of leak there. Someone could actually peer in, not that anyone is. So it is 9:37. I don't go bathroom this late in the evening, but since it's cold, it is much easier to stay warm if you have an empty bladder and you're not having to try to heat up a bunch of liquid in your bladder as well. I'm going to make a space, clean up all the randomness that's on my bed so I can get under the covers and be warm. Good night. So I'm really glad to have done this camping trip with my son. Number one, we had a great time together. It was very enjoyable. We're similar enough that it's fairly easy to spend time together and to travel together and stuff. So, and it was great to go camping with my son as an adult because they did things, handled their own stuff. And so that was wonderful. And the second reason it was great was because now my son is set up to go camping by themselves or with their own friends because they have all the gear they need and they were able to see what stuff they don't have, which really they only need a couple things. Primarily they need cooking. They need their own stove. But yeah, so, and I feel really good about that because one of my parenting goals was to set up my son to love camping and hiking. Which, not that, that would have been a failure if my son hadn't actually liked it, because every person is different. However, I did my hardest. Yeah. And I'm very happy that my son enjoys camping and hiking. And we were there and my son was asking about, these camp hosts. How do you get to be a camp host? What do you have to do that? It'd be great to just live here. See? All right, anyway, I'm just going to be driving back to town, going to Planet Fitness. First, actually, I'm going to go to the storage unit and put all the stuff away for camping so it's not in my vehicle. One of the things is I need to do that today because there's going to be a rainstorm starting tomorrow. That's going to be 4 days of rain or something. So I want to get all that stuff out of my car and put away today. And then I think I'll also go to Planet Fitness and take a shower. Tomorrow I have 4 client calls. So I have a lot of work to do tomorrow. Plus email and all the other things at work. So it will be back to work tomorrow. Today I'll check my email. I've not checked my work email since I've been on the trip because I was on a trip with my son, and that was the thing. And it's okay to take a couple days off to do that. All right. Anyway, I'm going to focus. I'm actually already focusing on driving, but I'm going to focus on driving later.